Hey there, folks. Jason here with another review. Today, I'll be talking about episode 3 of HBO's The Last of Us. Before I get started, I will be talking spoilers, so if you don't want anything about this episode ruined for you, and trust me, you don't, stop the video now, head over to HBO Max, check it out, then come on back, and we can talk about it. Now grab some tissues, folks. We're going to dive right into this episode. Okay, Jason, you can do this. You can do this. Okay. So episode 3 of The Last of Us. Wow. What an episode. I was very impressed. Now, before we get into the meat of the episode, we start with the aftermath of last week's major sacrifice as Joel is dealing with the loss of his partner, Tess. We see him kind of building sort of a memorial to her in the form of this stone tower that is in a valley 10 miles west of Boston. I know that's been a big criticism. This mountain range that's 10 miles west of Boston. I mean, it's the biggest criticism of the episode, but pretty much really the only criticism of the episode, given its subject matter. It's interesting to see this sort of shifting of Joel and Ellie's relationship this early on, dealing with this tragedy. I mean, Joel has lost so much. He doesn't want to lose anything else. So he's trying not to really form too many attachments to Ellie. She's just another job to him at this point. And, you know, you can see there's some resentment in her because Tess would be alive if it weren't for her. But as she points out, it's not my fault. It's not on me. Nobody told you guys to take the mission. I didn't force any of this on you. You guys did it yourself. And so while they're on this supply run, Ellie goes into the basement of this convenience store and finds the clicker buried under the rubble. And I thought it was interesting because she pulls the knife out, she cuts it, and then, cuts it open, and then stabs it in the head. And it's not like it's a mercy killing. You can tell that that look in her eye when she's doing it. It's like a kid stepping on an anthill. There's something really messed up about this kid, and I'm sure we'll peel those layers back even further as the series progresses. One thing I also really liked about the startup of this episode is that we actually get a pretty logical explanation to how this whole pandemic, the cordyceps spread so rapidly across the world through, mutation, and maybe it was used in some products like bread and flour or something like that. And that it just grew in people. And we were kind of getting subtle hints throughout the first 2 episodes. They certainly alluded to that heavily in episode 2's opening, but you can kind of see that in the next, the elderly woman next door in episode 1. She wasn't bitten by anybody. She didn't go anywhere. She couldn't have been bitten by anybody, but she was being fed pieces of, some kind of like a bread or whatever in the first episode. So that just makes sense because then she's the first one in that household that turns. So getting it, and it's good that it's not done in such an overt way. It makes sense. It's done in a very logical way. Of course, Ellie being born after, being at the age she's at, she was born after all this had happened. So she would have some questions, and Joel was there. And he would have come to an understanding because they researched this thing. They worked on this thing for so many years to try to figure out what happened, what went wrong. So he would have that knowledge, and it just makes sense. And kind of segueing into really the heart of this episode, which I think is what makes it really one of the best episodes of television I've seen in a long time. Certainly the best of these 3 episodes so far. And it's such a moving storyline between Bill and Frank. These 2 men who were, one is very closed off, and one's just kind of trying to survive, trying to figure things out in this post-apocalyptic world. And they find each other through happenstance. They find each other, and it's just, love comes in all shapes and sizes and all forms and at any time. And it's just a very hopeful story. And that, it brought me to tears. I don't really want to go too much into it just because, I stopped crying yesterday. So, it was so moving. It was so beautiful, and yet so devastating because just the way it ends. And it's great because they end their relation, they end the whole thing on their terms. And it's just so beautiful. And Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett as Bill and Frank, if either of them don't get at least nominated for an Emmy for this episode, there is no justice in the world. These two actors did such a great job working, and they had such incredible chemistry together. And it was just, again, I was just blown away. This was the most unexpected hour of television in the best way possible. And of course, by the end of it, both of them have passed on, leaving Joel with another group of friends. Joel has lost so much up to this point. He's lost his daughter, he's lost Tess, now Bill and Frank, and he's carrying all of this on his shoulders. And now he has to take Ellie to where she needs to go so they can find this cure. And that'll be something going forward to kind of see. But all in all, it's just probably it's the best episode of the series so far. It's certainly one of the best hours of television I've ever seen. I can't really knock on it at all. I'm going to give this episode a 5 out of 5 because it was just incredible. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you thought of The Last of Us episode 3 down in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I want to hear from you. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to click that like button. If you want to see more videos, don't forget to subscribe. Click the notification bell so you can get updates on all my future videos. You can also head over to my Facebook page, J-Man's Cave, where I'll be posting more updates as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.